Over the last couple of years, we've put a lot of work into several major developments, all aimed at making work more accessible to students and making sure that they can get the resources they need to help with their learning. One of these developments has been Go for Schools, and we use Go for Schools for an awful lot of our initiatives, including behaviour and attendance, as well as setting homework. Parents and guardians have their own login for Go for Schools, and students have a separate login. You do need to be on the correct login page, so the parents and guardians login page or the students login page. And logging into Go for Schools uses the email address that the school then has on the system. So for a student, that would be their school email address. For a parent, it would be the email address that we use to contact you. If you've forgotten your password, you can simply click Forgotten your password, enter that email address and click Send Password Reset Link. That will then email you with a link to reset your password. For students, going to the school website will allow them to access their email using the webmail link at the top of the web page. On that login page, there's also a link to be able to download the Go for Schools app, either on Apple or Android. The app is free of charge to download, but you can only sign into it with a valid and working user account and working password. All password resets do need to be done by you personally. We cannot do those for you, but it's just following that email link. Once logged into their accounts, students will be able to see their timetable, and they can expand this to view their full timetable for the week, and most importantly, their homework tasks. Now, this particular student has got 8 ongoing homework tasks, all due in the next 8 days, and these are arranged in date order. Clicking on a task title brings up the details of the task. This particular task has got then some sheets that go with it. Usually the teacher will have given these on paper, but they're included here in case the student has lost them or maybe was absent from the lesson. This task, for example, also has a link to GCSE pod. Opening up the task details, therefore, allows you to find the instructions and find the necessary resources and link in to any online resources which are needed. Clicking on the View Full List of Homework Tasks will take students to a slightly more detailed page, and that includes any extended tasks which go across several weeks, but also a homework history so that we can look back through tasks as necessary. One thing that students can do on their login, but parents can't do and we as staff can't do, is use the done boxes. And we would strongly encourage students to tick off their work as done. Now, I'm on a student login here. I don't want this student to think that they have done their French homework, so I will untick that again. But this allows students to organise themselves and make sure that they're looking through those tasks and seeing which things need to be done and when can I get those in. Back on the website, we've got links to a couple of other really important things. There is a link to the students' OneDrive. So in the last year, we've moved all of our student files off of the school servers, and each student now has their own personal OneDrive user area. If they click on that, it will ask them to sign in with their normal school email and their normal school password, and that will take them into their own personal online file storage area that can be accessed from anywhere in the world. So we would strongly encourage students to store all of their school related work in that area and work in that from home as well as from in school. There's also a link to the school's learning portal. Departments have put a lot of work into finding resources and making things clear for students and putting them in one place. Clicking that link will again ask students to sign in, and when they do so, they will end up at the learning portal, which looks like this. There is a folder for each subject, and within that, clear links to useful resources. As a scientist myself, I would jump into the science folder. In here, for example, you will find an entire folder for GCSE revision with criteria sheets, exam questions split down into topics, and various bits of information that would help with the revision process. In that Learning Portal file folder, you will also find a link to the COVID and Intervention Centre work folder. If any of you are unfortunate enough to be isolating at home by yourself, not as part of a whole class isolation, but an individual isolation, this is where you would then be going to find work for each of your subjects, and within that, those are then split down into year groups so that you can follow through and find appropriate work while you're isolating at home. Back on the school website, we have recently added a new Learning at Home tab, and within that we have added information about all of these resources. So there's a section here on Go for Schools, how to access email, including what the email address should look like, accessing OneDrive, and links to some of the other developments that we've been doing. So Microsoft Teams, this comes as part of each student's Office 365 subscription, and they can access lesson materials and class-based resources through Microsoft Teams with their teachers' help. Got stuff on the Learning Portal, Microsoft Stream, a video platform, which again runs off a student's login. OneNote is something that some teachers are using with classes, and there's information here about how to use OneNote and a video that you can watch about that, and further information about GCSE Pod, as well as a useful resource called Cam Scanner, which can be used to make electronic copies of paper-based tasks, and also information about each student's Microsoft 365 subscription. Now, if you follow this through, it is possible for you to download Microsoft Office programs onto a home computer. So Word, Excel, PowerPoint, for example, are all available to you free of charge using the student login and can be downloaded onto a home computer so that students can be working effectively from home. There's a whole wealth of resources available. We will keep adding to this Learning at Home tab as we find more things which are useful to you, and we really hope that students will take every opportunity to access those resources. We do believe there's not really any excuse there for students not to be able to access high quality learning resources from home, and we strongly hope that we're all going to be pushing hard to achieve the best we can with those resources.